Welcome back to Ignite&Scale. Today's episode sits right at the intersection of data, customer behavior, and revenue execution. More importantly, where most dealers are still leaking value without realizing it. The industry has spent the last decade obsessing over leads, websites, and digital funnels. But the single most valuable data in the customer journey is still a conversation. And that's exactly what today's guest has built his career around. Ben Chodor is the CEO of CallRevu, a communications intelligence platform used by thousands of dealerships to turn everyday customer interactions into actionable insight and revenue growth. Ben, it's great to have you on.
Mike, thanks for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation.
No, that's great. I mean, if we just jump in, you've spent 25 years plus in communications, SaaS, digital platforms. Well, if you could give us a little bit of background on that, but also what's the consistent pattern you've seen in how businesses unlock growth?
So I've spent my entire career as a startup founder, CEO in the world of streaming, which is all about communication, and not streaming like you watch Netflix. And when I was doing it, Netflix really was still sending DVDs to your house, and organizations like Blockbusters, where you went and got your video. But we did it for corporations, and it was not so much the ability for companies to reach their constituents. It was more about the ability to reach them, but the data that came from it. What happens? Did a communication, a voice and video lead to better engagement and to sales? And then after that, I ran a business that we acquired from NASDAQ, their PR, IR, and streaming. And it's all about the data of earnings calls, the data of the press release and the information you get, and how do you react on it? And so when the opportunity approached me from Sarant, who was the private equity firm that ran CallRevu, about this business that had thousands of dealerships in North America, and that we were listening to every single call, I was intrigued. And then when you dig really deep into it, it is proven that for the value of one phone call, one click to call from Google or a website to a dealership is more valuable than 5 or 6 forms filled out. Yeah. Because it's easy. There's no commitment when there's a form filled out. But if you're going to pick up the phone and call, and in today's world, you don't pick up the phone and call a dealership because you want to know what their hours are. You don't call them to see if they have any cars in stock. You know that from everything online. You're calling them because you're interested. And so every call is, 5 to 10 times more valuable than any other source of lead, because once you get them on the phone, the goal is, how do I get them in the dealership? How do I get them to purchase the car? And the same thing on the support and service side of the business. How they engage with you via communication leads to more ROIs. And then if you tie in selling the car, ROIs, how do we create this perfect customer journey? And since we track every call in and out of every dealership, Mike, it gives us this unique perspective of, we know what's working in the dealership, we know it's not, and we know what they need to train on. And it's their data, and data is king. And if you don't embrace your data, then you're never going to grow as an organization. And that's all we want to unlock for the dealerships.
It's fascinating when you talk about that, because the automotive industry talks a lot about digital transformation, and clearly it's about unlocking value. But I guess your entire thesis is that kind of old-fashioned, if you like, but data-rich way of communication is still the highest value moment in 2026, and that just hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. And look, the one thing I could tell you that's going to be still going to be in a dealership in 5 years from now, there's still going to be phones in the dealership. Now, it might be less and less volume, and it might not be a physical phone. It might be the soft phone on your computer. It might be an app in your phone, but you're still going to need lines. And the other thing you're going to continue to do, send SMSs. and send some sort of text. And if you're not doing it via WhatsApp, you still need a phone number. And so the numbers still mean something, and it doesn't matter if it's not just voice. If it's text, it's still going through the same technology, and we're giving you the same reporting back. And even if you go down the road of using DBAs, AI assistants, the AI voices, guess what? If they're answering via phone number. So that AI is just another number creating data, creating information, creating intelligence for the dealership.
Yeah, no, fascinating. And obviously, we know dealers aren't short of data, and there's plenty of dashboards for everything nowadays. But it's that usable insight that you find. And perhaps if we can push a bit deeper into what's the difference between the reporting data, the insight data, and the actual action that dealers can do to unlock sales, and where do you think most tools fail in that as well? I mean, clearly they can't all provide all three. It'd just be interesting to dig into that a bit more.
All right. So where I think the biggest opportunity is, look, everyone gets the data and everyone pays to get data and they look at it. And to me, a lot of times it's just numbers or just percentages. Yeah. But what we try to do is create alerts, talk to the dealerships. What are your key? What do you benchmark your business on? What do you need to know? And then we get to deliver to you while a call's coming on, while an interaction, we can create alerts. But what we also get to do, besides the obvious, how many missed calls, CSI warnings, how many times they mention a competitor, like all the data points you want, because we're AI based and we've always done it this way, we can actually see around the corner and tell you, you know what, Mike, in your dealership, you're looking at all this, which is great. But here's a couple things. Here's some trends we're finding out, not just from your dealership, but what we're taking from our 300 other million calls that we take in every year. And we get to see trends, give you insights so you can make it. Look, analytics without actionable insights is just something that looks nice. Like it's a dashboard, and there's millions of dashboards. Unless that dashboard is making you money, giving you really good insights so you can engage, creating ROs, creating better customer experience, then it's really just data. And I'm not a big fan of vanity metrics because I can give you vanity metrics all day long. That doesn't turn into one car sold, doesn't turn into one happy customer, doesn't turn into one repeat customer.
No, understood. And there are more and more vanity metrics as we speak, really. I mean, I guess just shifting on, you've talked about AI. You guys have been involved with AI for a long time. But where do you see AI going in the next 3 to 5 years? What you've got a good position and you work with some interesting partners as well. But is it moving from reporting to real-time intervention? Can it save deals? Can it route smarter? Can it automate response? How far can that go in the next 3 to 5 years, in your view?
Well, I could tell you my view, but I'm gonna be wrong, because if you asked me a year ago, would we be where we are now? I don't know if I would have said we'd be where we are now. But here already, so we have about 6,000 dealers in the U.S. that use our technology out of about 17,000 franchise dealerships. And about 1,500 of them also have our phone system. So if you have our phone system and something's going on a phone call, let's say you're a salesman, Mike, and you're talking to me and the conversation goes off the rails, it can send an alert to your manager, and your manager could barge into that call and go, hey, Ben, Mike didn't really mean to say that. This is what he meant to say. I'm the manager. I just happened to be walking by his office and I jumped on the call. So we're already doing that. But where it's going is and we're launching this, while the call's going on, why can't I be helping in the pane of glass the salesman and saying, hey, this guy is saying this to you. You're talking about this. But I think what he really is talking about is something else. Bring that information in. And the best analogy, like where it's going in healthcare, because I spent a lot of time in the past in healthcare, is when you go see a doctor right now, he spends all of his time in the EMR, in the database, writing down his notes as he's talking to you. So he's paying 80% attention to you when he's writing notes. And he's trying to diagnose what's going on with you. But what's happening now with the AI, it's going like, great, doc, you're saying this, but maybe it's this or this. Why don't you ask the patient, does he have pain in his elbow, right? Or something. So it's engaging, it's becoming their assistant. And where I think the AI is going, that every salesperson, everyone in the dealership, everyone in business, myself included, will have a virtual assistant that kind of just helps me. Hey, Ben, you're thinking about this. There's only so much my brain can focus on.
Yeah.
Here's some other insights, or what we're hearing from the call might be different than you. So I think we're only in the early stages of it. And really what we want to be as a company is part of that orchestration layer. We know you need this data. How does that help the insights of where the AI is going? So it gives you better information so you can make better decisions and better engage with the customer. So early innings, it's only going to get better. And we're already seeing clients who use our technology theoretically should be selling 5 or 10% more cars and doing, 5 or 10% more ROs every month. So the ability is unbelievable for what we could be doing and where it's going. And I'm just excited what the next 6 months is going to bring.
I mean, just focusing on ROI, I guess everybody, a lot of dealers are very ROI focused, particularly when it comes to software providers. I mean, it feels from what you're kind of saying, the ROI of your product is only going to grow as the tech gets more sophisticated, people get more used to using it. But what does the ROI currently look like, and how is it going to improve in the future when you apply it to your products?
So when you look at our products, like I mentioned, if you're a dealer using our technology, you should be selling, and they do, 5 or 10% more cars, right? Yeah. So if you're selling 100 cars a month, selling 5 or 10 more times 12 months is a lot. And the same thing with like oil changes, ROs, service appointments. But where it's going is predictive. Like, will my close rate get higher because I know more about the customer? Instead of going in when a customer calls you sort of blindly, like talking to them, how much information is this going to be able to bring me from the caller? If it was Mike, when Mike Allen calls in, how much information am I going to have about Mike so I could better engage with Mike? I know more about Mike's history. Even if he never bought a car from my dealership, how much can I bring to him? So the ROI, look, here's part of it. I think everyone needs to know the full customer journey. Yeah. Did they see an ad? Did they click on it? Did they come into the dealer? Did they end up buying a car from you? Or did they go, if you're a Honda dealer, did they end up going to the Toyota dealer down the street and buying it from? And why? How do I get this information so I can better interact with the customer going forward? Yeah. And then I think the other area that the technology is really going to help in is follow up. Knowing so much like, hey, Mike bought the car 2.5 years ago. He has 6 months left on his lease. He's been in for 2 oil changes. How do I better engage so I can start that conversation to sell the next car? Because I think this industry was always in the past, because I'm not from auto per se, was always about make the sale. Not make the sale. And man, I hope in 3 years or 4 years from now, I make the next sale. It's make the sale now. And I don't think they used to sell a car thinking, oh, now I can't wait to service this guy for the next 3 or 4 years. How much money can I make that way? And how much better can I build a relationship? I think it all matters now. And it's table stakes if you don't take that information and align your dealership around it. And I think one of the other keys, how are you going to train your staff? I mean, it's not like you just put it on and they sit back. It's training your staff on what to look for, how to engage with this data and analytics.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And I guess, when you look at your best performing dealer groups now using your technology, what is it that they do different to the industry where you might say, I know why you're miles ahead at the moment because it's how you're utilizing the technology? Is it behavior, process, leadership, mixture of all three?
I think it starts from the top, right?
Yeah.
So we have one large dealership group that has about 90 rooftops, right? 90 dealers in the US. And their COO, every morning, first thing he does is he logs onto our dashboard. He gets reports all day long, but he logs onto the dashboard, checks out the day before, see which was his higher performing stores, lower performing, and even individuals, looks at all of his alerts and then actions them. Like, again, it goes back to, I think, what we said in the beginning. That is really cool. It's nice. It's vanity. It shows you what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we could fix. But if you don't action it, and I think that's the mistake we all make, and I think sometimes I make that mistake even inside a CallRevu. I see the data and I go, oh, that's interesting, but I don't drill down 2 layers deep and action it. And I think the dealerships that we work with that are the most successful are the ones that are committed, going like, I'm going to do every additional car, every good engagement for us makes us better, and they never underestimate that. And I think you have to action it. And I think it's just human nature. You're always dealing with the problem in front of you.
Yeah.
And if you're really going to be successful today, you got to look at this data and see, how does it help me 3 days, 5 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days forward?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, Ben, you said that you've worked in different industries and you're currently scaling a SaaS platform in a complex, fragmented industry. What's been the hardest part of scaling CallRevu since you've taken over?
We've scaled tremendously. I think I'm kind of like, I'll tell you what it is, but for me, coming into the industry, I thought the car industry was pretty basic, right? I didn't think it was as deep and layered. And in North America, it's even different than it is all through Europe, because the manufacturers can't sell the cars. The dealers, need the OEMs, the manufacturers, but at the same time, they run as their own businesses. So that's nothing I've ever dealt with before. The second thing is, as a kid growing up, you always thought a car salesman as like these used car salespeople, right? You just mentally picture, they have a used car dealership, then they get a Toyota dealership, and they finally build. Well, guess what? 3 generations later in North America, the grandson of the founder of that dealership, now that they have multiple dealerships, is university educated, like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, like Oxford, if it was in the UK. They grew up as MBAs and business leaders. So they know the car business inside and out, but they're looking at it, and I'm seeing it every single day now. They're looking at it as, how do we use data, analytics? How do we look at marketing different? Look, it used to be just in the world of advertising, all about SEO. SEO, that's all I want. Advertise, get good SEO. Here's 30 ways to get good SEO. Well, guess what? Today, if you don't think about AEO and GEO and what's going to happen in the search, and people search on Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT different than they search on Google. And if you're not also creating your ads, your messaging, and what you need to do to come up on those searches, on those engagements, you're missing out. Because for me today, I use Google, what restaurants are close to me? That's what I use it. Or what Honda dealership's the closest to me? I go into Claude or Gemini and I say, I'm looking for a new Honda. Which is the best rated dealership and why should I go there? And oh, by the way, pull up 10 reviews, 3 of this, tell me 3 complaints, and 2 seconds later or 3 seconds later, I have all that information. And how are you going to pop up in there? It's different. It's different than in the world of, like, I'm just going to pay $50 in AdWords. I'll pop up in the sponsor area. This is different, and you have to engage with it. And what I'm finding with most of the dealers, like because the way they're educated, they're embracing this, and it's not going beyond them. And where I think dealers in principle are always theoretically always a few years away from, we'll call it, tech-enabled companies, like in non-SaaS businesses, but auto. They're moving now at lightning speed. It is the perfect place to use this technology, because not every business, a lot of businesses are just B2B. This business is truly a B2B2C, and the C is the most important element of this. So everybody engages. So in America, from the OEM, the manufacturer has to engage with the consumer, the dealer has to engage with the consumer, and then the consumer is engaging and has so much noise coming around them. So how do I pull out from noise to something that's going to make me proactive, not just reactive? And I think dealers are embracing it. So to me, the biggest biggest surprise was when I sit down with dealer groups, they want to know what they can do. They want it, and they want to be shown, and they're willing to take some chances, which is something that I haven't seen in the past, and I love where it's going.
No, it's great. And Ben, if I could ask, I mean, particularly at your level, I've got to know you over the past few months, and you're very energetic. The CallRevu team is growing, it's scaling, it's exciting. You're looking at partnerships, you're looking at lots of ways to grow the business. At your level, the amount of travel you do, whenever I speak to you in a different city or a different country, what does a high performance day look like in your world?
All right, so I'll give you this too. If I'm not on the road, I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. It's crazy, but and my wife and I have a coffee, discuss life, watch a little TV, and at 4:45 every morning I go to the gym. My goal is to be at my desk by 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock, and in a non-travel day, doing paperwork, getting ready for the day. And when but I probably travel a minimum of 8 to 10 days a month. And it's not because I want to travel. I'd rather not travel. I'd rather be home. But I think you have to see customers. Yeah. And you have to see employees in this virtual world. And I have hundreds of employees all over North America, not in offices, so I don't get to see them anymore. My last business, I got to see people in offices, and we're now going international. We're going to be launching more and more in Europe. Yeah. I just think it's my job to go see customers at least once a week and to see employees wherever they are. And that to me is crazy and hectic. And then also, I think it's part of my job to learn new technologies, see what's out there, seeing where we can partner. And because in October of 25, Sarant, who was our PE firm, we went into the market and we sold, and Astera is our new owners, a great PE firm. And I'm committed with them, rolled some of my equity long in, with their belief going, let's do some M&A. So we're very inquisitive about acquiring to grow, and not just to acquire for acquire's sake. We look at companies, what will better enhance our offering, our customers' offering, and maybe give us something we didn't have before. And that to me is the most exciting thing. I get to deal with other entrepreneurs, people like you, Mike, all over the world now, saying, how do we grow this together? And so I'm so jazzed about the next 3 years. But going back to one of your original questions, I am done predicting what the future is going to look like. I thought I was always had a little crystal ball and could see around corners. I can't, it's mind-boggling, because if you would have asked me 2 years ago when we bought Total CX for the phone system, hey, why'd you buy the phone system business? Well, it enabled us to start collecting every call, and we grew customers. But I didn't, in the back of my head, going like, this is a business, portion of the business is going to continue to grow. Yeah. Now, 2 years later, and what's happened with AI, well, one thing that AI can't cannibalize, AI can't create phone lines. Yeah. AI can't create a phone. It could enhance it all, but guess what? You're still going to need phones. You're still going to need a text number. Like in the US, you're going to get an area code and 7 digits, and that's what's going to happen. So now we get to provide it. It's a part of that orchestration layer that AI can't. It can enhance. It can't kill, right? It can't take away. And so even we all sit here in our organization going like, whoa, we bought this for one reason, and now we're looking like, oh my God, it might be one of the stickiest pieces we have that, and that's what they keep on saying. If you read everything about AI, Mark Andreessen, from Andreessen Horowitz, quoted that he thinks everyone thinks it's going to cannibalize employees and this. No, the first area it's going to really affect are developers. Because I don't need as many developers. I need a different kind of developer, and I could get more things done faster, which is really good for our business. And that's what we like. Our technology, how much deeper can we get in the organization to give them more insights? So I'm really excited about it, but I also feel it's like, in a surfing term, you can catch a wave and you can ride that wave perfectly, but there's no surfer in the world can tell you where it's going to land. Like and at this point on shore, you're going to get to shore, you just don't know where. And that's how I feel. And as long as we're engaging with our customers, listening and listening to everybody, and also hearing the noise around. And I think also as a CEO, you have to have an element of selective paranoia. You can't be paranoid about everything over your shoulders, but you have to be aware of what's coming and how is this going to affect your business.
Yeah. No, very wise words. And that makes two of us about the crystal ball as well. It's extraordinary times. But Ben, I really appreciate your time and insight. And I guess what's clear from me is that the industry has been chasing more leads, more tools, more data, but the unlock is probably a lot more simple. It's understanding the conversations that are already happening. So, interesting.
Yeah, you're right. Mike, everyone's always looking for, how do I get more and more and more? But hold it. How do you optimize what you're getting?
Yeah.
Solve that problem first. And of course, you still want more, but optimize that. And so that's what we're trying to help dealerships with.
Well, great. I really appreciate your time and thanks for coming on, Ben.
Thank you, Mike. You have a great day.
Cheers. If you want to listen to more episodes of the podcast, we're on all good audio platforms. Our website is also www.cambriaprivatecapital.com, and you can also find myself on LinkedIn and Twitter, where we publish our weekly blogs as well. Please do get in touch if you want more information.